If you've ever mulched your garden and then watched your plants struggle anyway, yellow leaves, stunted growth, fungus, pests, weak roots, there's a good chance you made the same mistake almost every gardener makes. And the frustrating part? Most people think they're helping their plants because mulch is good. In fact, it's one of the best things you can do for soil health, moisture retention, weed suppression, and long-term fertility. But one small mistake turns mulch from a plant protector into a silent plant killer. And today, we're going to fix that. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact mulch mistake destroying gardens, why it causes root rot and weak plants, how professionals mulch differently, which mulches work best, and how to mulch properly for vegetables, fruit trees, raised beds, and containers. And if you stay until the end, I'll also show you the easiest lazy gardener mulch system that dramatically reduces watering and weeds with almost no maintenance. Welcome back to Dirt Decoded, where we make gardening simpler, smarter, and way more productive. Now, before we get into the big mistake, I want to mention something quickly because it honestly changed how my own beds performed during hot weather. One thing that made a huge difference for me was switching to a thicker, natural mulch, combined with a simple moisture meter. Most gardeners overwater because the surface looks dry even when the soil underneath is still wet. I'll link the soil moisture meter I use down below. It's inexpensive, doesn't need batteries, and it helps prevent one of the biggest hidden causes of root rot under mulch. All right, let's talk about the mistake. Volcano mulching is one of the most common and most misunderstood mulching mistakes gardeners make. But what exactly is it? Volcano mulching is when mulch is piled high and tight against the base of a tree or plant, forming a mound that looks just like a volcano. Hence the name. You might also hear it called mulch volcanoes, stem suffocation, or crown rot mulching. The defining feature is always the same: a thick, cone-shaped pile of mulch pressed right up against the trunk or stem. Once you know what to look for, you'll spot volcano mulching everywhere: public parks, city streets, even professional landscapes. Trees surrounded by giant cones of mulch are a telltale sign. It's not just trees. Gardeners sometimes bury tomatoes halfway up the stem, thinking it will help them grow stronger. Pepper plants, roses, and even shrubs often get the same treatment, with mulch packed tightly at the base. Raised beds packed with mulch touching every plant crown might look neat and tidy, but looks can be deceiving. Biologically, volcano mulching is a disaster waiting to happen. Stems and trunks are not designed to stay constantly wet, but volcano mulching traps moisture right where it does the most harm. Roots love moisture. Stems and trunks, on the other hand, need airflow and dryness to stay healthy. When mulch is pressed against the crown of a plant, it traps moisture and blocks airflow, creating the perfect environment for trouble. Fungal diseases, stem rot, bark decay, pests, mold, and oxygen deprivation all thrive in these conditions. The plant slowly weakens from the base outward, often showing yellowing leaves, wilting, or dieback. Sometimes the damage appears in weeks, sometimes months, and for trees, it can take years before the decline is obvious. That's why so many gardeners never realize that volcano mulching is the root of their plant problems. It's a classic case of good intentions gone wrong, because most people think more mulch means healthier plants, when in reality, it's all about how you use it. Think about a forest. In nature, leaves and organic matter fall to the ground and form a loose, airy layer around trees and plants. But notice, these materials rarely pile up tightly against the trunks or stems. There's always a gap, allowing for airflow and letting the base of the plant dry out after rain or dew. In gardens, however, people often pile mulch right up against the stems, creating a thick, wet ring that hugs the plant. This is especially common after watering, heavy rain, or in humid climates. Here's where the science comes in. Mulch is designed to retain moisture. That's great for the soil, but when mulch is pressed against stems, it keeps the base of the plant constantly damp. This persistent moisture softens the outer tissues of stems and trunks, a process called stem maceration. Over time, the softened tissue becomes vulnerable to fungal and bacterial pathogens. For example, diseases like crown rot and stem canker thrive in these damp conditions. Once pathogens enter through the softened tissue, they can quickly spread, causing the plant to wilt, collapse, or even die. Real-world cases show that tomatoes, peppers, and squash are especially prone to stem rot when mulch is piled against their bases. The same goes for cucumbers, citrus trees, roses, fruit trees, and young seedlings. The consequences? Plants may show yellowing leaves, stunted growth, or sudden collapse at the crown. In severe cases, entire crops can be lost to rot and disease, all because the mulch was placed too close to the stem. So, always leave a gap between mulch and plant stems. It's a simple step that mimics nature and protects your plants from a host of preventable problems. So, how do you mulch the right way? Let's break it down step by step. First, start by spreading mulch evenly over the soil surface, making sure the area is weed-free and moist before you begin. Next, always pull mulch back from the stems and trunks of your plants. Never pile it up against them. Think of mulch like a donut, not a volcano. Leave a clear ring of open space around the base, about 2 to 4 inches for vegetables and flowers. For trees and shrubs, leave even more space, at least 6 inches or more for young trees. You should always see the trunk flare above the mulch. The trunk flare is where the trunk widens at the base. Never bury it under mulch, as this can cause rot and disease. Keep your mulch layer about 2 to 3 inches deep. Too much mulch can suffocate roots, while too little won't suppress weeds or retain moisture. Proper mulching helps prevent disease, conserves water, and keeps your plants healthy. Refresh mulch as needed, but avoid piling new mulch on top of old, compacted layers. Fluff or remove old mulch if it's matted down. Common mistakes to avoid: don't let mulch touch stems or trunks, don't use too much, and don't forget to check for pests hiding underneath. Most gardening videos skip these details, but following these steps makes all the difference. Remember, mulch isn't the problem. Placement and technique are key to a thriving garden. Now there's another mulch mistake that often happens at the same time: too much mulch. People hear mulch conserves moisture, so they think more mulch must be better. Not exactly. When mulch becomes excessively thick, oxygen struggles to reach the soil, water may not penetrate properly, roots stay too wet, and fungal growth increases. In extreme cases, thick mulch can even create anaerobic conditions. That means the soil starts lacking oxygen. Healthy soil is alive. It breathes. Beneficial microbes need airflow too. For most gardens, 2 to 4 inches is ideal. That's enough to suppress weeds, reduce evaporation, regulate temperature, and feed soil life. But once you start building giant mulch mountains, you create problems, especially with fine mulches that compact easily. Now let's talk about mulch itself, because not all mulch behaves the same way. Some mulches retain too much moisture. Some steal nitrogen temporarily. Some attract pests. Some break down beautifully. So here are the best general-purpose options. Straw, one of the best vegetable garden mulches. Why? Well, it's lightweight, airy, decomposes nicely, excellent moisture retention, and easy for seedlings. But use clean straw, not hay. Hay contains seeds, and suddenly your mulch becomes a weed farm. Wood chips, fantastic for pathways, trees, perennial beds, and food forests. Wood chips break down slowly and improve fungal soil networks over time, but avoid mixing fresh wood chips deeply into soil. On top of soil is fine. Buried deeply can temporarily tie up nitrogen during decomposition. Shredded leaves, honestly underrated, free, natural, excellent for soil biology, and forests have used them successfully for millions of years. The trick is shredding them first so they don't mat together into a slimy layer. Compost as mulch. This is one of my favorites for raised beds. A thin compost mulch feeds the soil while protecting it, especially for vegetables. And if you combine compost with a light straw layer on top, that's a powerhouse system. Actually, one of the easiest ways to do this is using a compost sifter before mulching. It gives you a finer top layer that spreads evenly and doesn't clump around stems. I'll link the one I use below because it makes homemade compost look almost store-bought. Now let's get practical. Here's how I mulch vegetables. First, I water deeply. Always mulch after watering if possible, because dry soil under mulch can actually stay dry longer. Then I apply mulch around the plant, not against it. I keep the stem area open. Next, I spread about 2 inches for cooler climates and closer to 3 or 4 inches in hotter, dry climates. For tomatoes specifically, I mulch wider rather than taller. Wide mulch zones help stabilize moisture, and stable moisture prevents blossom end rot, cracking, and stress. Mulch also dramatically reduces soil splash. That matters because many fungal diseases spread when rain splashes soil onto leaves. So mulch acts like a disease barrier too. Here are warning signs your mulch setup is hurting plants. Mushy stems, especially at soil level, are a huge warning sign. Fungus growing constantly. Now, occasional mushrooms are fine, but persistent slimy fungal growth around stems means excessive moisture. Yellowing despite wet soil often means overwatering is being trapped beneath the mulch. A bad smell is another clue. Healthy soil smells earthy, but sour or rotten smells suggest anaerobic conditions. Pest buildup is another sign. Earwigs, slugs, pillbugs, and fungus gnats often thrive in overly wet mulch systems, especially when mulch is just too dense. Now here's something people overlook. Containers benefit massively from mulch too, especially in hot climates. Potting soil dries incredibly fast, and a thin mulch layer can cut watering dramatically. But containers are also easier to overwater, so this is where that moisture meter becomes especially useful. Because the top inch might look dry while the lower soil is still soaked. For containers, use thinner mulch layers. Usually 1 to 2 inches is enough. And absolutely keep mulch away from the stem base, since container plants already have limited airflow. Now, after hearing all this, some folks swing too far the other way and avoid mulch completely. That's also a mistake, because honestly, proper mulching is one of the best things you can do for soil health. Good mulch protects microbes, buffers temperature swings, prevents erosion, feeds worms, reduces watering, suppresses weeds, and improves soil structure over time. Bare soil is vulnerable soil. In nature, soil is usually covered. The key is mimicking nature intelligently, not suffocating your plants. Now let me show y'all the low-maintenance system I mentioned earlier. This works especially well for raised beds, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, and fruit trees. First, layer 1, compost, just a thin layer. It feeds the soil. Then, layer 2, coarse mulch like straw or shredded leaves. This protects the compost and slows evaporation. That combination works beautifully because compost feeds and mulch protects. And over time, worms pull everything downward naturally. You end up building richer soil every season with less effort. And here's the surprising part. Gardens mulched properly often need far less fertilizer because soil biology becomes healthier and nutrient cycling improves naturally. All right, let's do a quick rapid-fire list of things you really want to avoid with mulch. So, don't let mulch touch the stems of your plants. Skip the dyed decorative mulch around your vegetables. That stuff just isn't good. Avoid putting down excessively thick layers and steer clear of compacted wet mulch. Don't use fresh grass clippings in thick piles, and whenever possible, don't put landscape fabric under organic mulch. Landscape fabric, honestly, it often creates terrible long-term soil conditions. It blocks natural soil improvement, and I'll tell you, it becomes a nightmare later on. Organic systems just work better in the long run. Here's a simple mulch test you can try. After you finish this video, just head outside and pull back your mulch. Go ahead and touch the soil, give it a sniff, and take a look at the base of your plants. If the stem area is always damp, or if it smells kind of sour, or you notice mulch is touching the stem, well, you've probably found the issue. The good news is, this is usually very fixable. Simply pulling that mulch back a bit can dramatically improve airflow and really cut down on disease pressure. You know, the funny thing about gardening is that even small mistakes can create huge consequences. Mulch is one of those things that seems simple until you realize just how much biology is happening underneath. If you do it right, mulch gives you healthier roots, richer soil, fewer weeds, stronger plants, and honestly, less work. But if you do it wrong, it traps moisture, suffocates crowns, and slowly weakens everything you're trying to grow. So remember, donut, not volcano. Always give stems room to breathe, and your plants are going to thank you for it. If this video helped you out, go ahead and subscribe to Dirt Decoded for more practical gardening videos that really do make growing easier. And if you're interested in the tools I mentioned, the soil moisture meter and the compost sifter, I've linked both down below in the description. Those are affiliate links, which just means the channel earns a small commission at no extra cost to you, and it genuinely helps support future videos. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what mulch do you use most in your garden? Is it straw, wood chips, leaves, or compost? I'd really love to hear what's working for you, and I'll see y'all in the next one.